You're watching F5. We are here at GITEX 2024 at the World Trade Center in Dubai. I am joined by Gordan. Gordan, can I get you to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Boo. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Gordan Orr, Regional Vice President Sales for EMEA, working with our customers to deliver our strategy successfully.
Fantastic. Big region, especially, well, you cover a lot, but you're out here in Meta. Maybe we can talk a little bit first, really quickly. What do you think of this region as far as like its growth, excitement? We're seeing an acceleration in the adoption of our technology. Kind of thoughts around that?
Yeah, sure. So it's always a privilege to come out to the Middle East and particularly to Dubai, which is kind of like the center point of so much change. I've been coming here the last 3-4 years since COVID, and it's been amazing, just the explosion of digitization initiatives that our customers are trying to drive and go through. And I think it's a region that's hugely diverse, but also it's quite advanced as well. So for example, Dubai's had an AI minister since 2017. Just to kind of set that in terms of like their progression and thinking as to how the digital economy can drive strategic impact for them as a nation.
Wow. That's a really great fact. Nobody else has mentioned that yet, so score one for you. Okay, when it comes to that, we were just talking a little bit before too, you have a bit of a framework on how you think through addressing all of these needs in the market, so maybe I'll let you kind of walk through how you think about that.
Okay, so essentially I see three broad issues at the moment. One is the challenge for the CIO trying to drive that business transformation via technology. The second one would probably be for the CISO, specifically the Chief Information Security Officer. And then the third piece would be the rise of AI. And so if we start at the top, from a CIO perspective, for them driving change has been incredibly hard this last few years, where they're trying to drive that digital transformation component. But more and more what we're seeing is that to do that, they've got to maximize and make really efficient the traditional applications that reside in their data center, but also to drive agility and to improve time to value. They've often leveraged hyperscalers and microservices and building microservices in order to build modern applications. But what we're seeing in the last 12, 18 months in particular is a lot of tension in that we're trying to sustain both approaches effectively presents a huge challenge for the organization from a people perspective, skills, and the sprawl of tools that exist across those domains. And so we characterize this as the ball of fire, okay? And that's a real big challenge for CIOs at the moment. And what we're seeing is we're trying to help them map out a framework for the future where they can understand where to put their applications, where to put their data, whether the data would travel with the apps or not. But more and more, how do we help them simplify the approach? And we feel that we're uniquely placed to help our customers really secure and deliver any app and API anywhere.
That's a great point too, in that I think what you're addressing is, and when you mention agility, change is very, very quick right now, that we're seeing in like the past 12 months even, in that all of a sudden there are very new problems, but to us they're kind of the same as before, if you really break down an AI application. Are you seeing CIOs and CISOs struggle with that change? Is it something that through a bit of a framework they're able to kind of be ready for changes like that?
Okay, I mean on AI specifically, what we've seen is that AI is really translating from the kind of the motion from the boardroom to the engine room, as it were. And I think that organizations are really struggling to get a handle onto how to approach it. One of the things at F5 that we've done is try and map this out with a reference framework for our customers. So one essentially where we see 7 modular components around building an AI capability or an AI factory, where essentially you're bringing together your storage, network, and compute resources to solve AI problems at scale. But also we recognize that there's different ways to do it, so there's 4 different deployment models within that. And so what we're just trying to do is frame out with our customers how to think about the problems ahead of them, how to think about the opportunities most importantly, but then make sure that they can really identify what's most appropriate for them to both scale these huge inference models that they're trying to build, but also to secure them as well, given that particularly for retrieval augmented generation, you're going to be using data within your own kind of environments as well as connecting out to external environments. So we feel that we've got some great capability there to help customers from that perspective.
Yeah. And one of the challenges that I'm noticing here, I actually had this conversation back at InfoSec as well, is around regulation. where data needs to reside, some of the actions that you need to take once you have an application up and running, whether that's regular scanning or just attestation that you've done your protections. Are you seeing CISOs, I guess in particular, being able to address that?
Yeah, I guess if the CIO is the ball of fire kind of problem, it's probably pain from a CISO perspective that they're dealing with. So one is obviously with huge digitization, we've seen a massive rise in the amount of APIs. And in fact, a recent report that we just published, we saw that I think every enterprise has around 421 APIs, of which about 30% are unprotected. Right? So CISOs themselves don't really have the ability right now to be right across the threat landscape and protect for it. So that's a concern for them. And then secondly, what we're seeing is that that then presents the challenge for them as to how they discover, govern and protect. So we try and help customers from that perspective, really get a handle on that, thinking through those three motions. And then the last piece, as you say, from an AI perspective, well, AI is fundamentally dependent on APIs. And so we're working with customers very closely right now around API security. So then if you think around how you build the digital assets against it and secure it, we're definitely working with customers around what we call a shift left and shield right strategy. So from the point of view of app scanning, I think that you mentioned, one of the things that we see customers do is that typically pen testing is done maybe once a year, twice a year. It's quite a manually intensive process. And so what we're trying to give the customers to do is have almost like a continuous compliance model where with some automation in their web app scanning, linked through to how they then publish and protect their apps and APIs. They've got much more security and much more assurance in terms of how they can protect their digital assets on a regular basis, and that certainly helps CISOs sleep a little bit better at night.
Absolutely, and I think it helps with adopting change, because once you feel like your estate is okay, you're ready to take the next step, as opposed to accumulating technical debt, which I've talked about before. Is technical debt just kind of weighs you down and makes you slower. So I think all around, you should be looking at ways to address that, hopefully through F5. Otherwise, thank you very much, Gordan, for joining me today. Great to see you. Again, we've got more content that's going to be out from GITEX 2024, so make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and otherwise we will see you on the next one. Bye now.